Nick, we've talked all offseason how the Saints need to add a big pass catcher. During the first wave of free agency, they added Brandon Cooks, smaller guy but quick. During the draft, they really didn't target a big body wide receiver. But now, in this second wave before the start of OTAs, should the Saints aggressively go after someone like Keenan Allen?
I think they need that type of player. I think that was the biggest miss in the draft for me is that they didn't find that type of pass catcher. Now, granted, I think they were just kind of prioritizing BPA and not putting current needs over future needs or inherent value, which I think I take a little solace in that actually, knowing that this is the most clear sign I think since 2015 that they are in a rebuilding process, that they didn't just go all out for what they need today. So on one hand, I like it. On the other hand, I hate it because I think this is a need since Mike Thomas rolled his ankle, and like I just don't think
Yeah.
it's ever been properly addressed. I do think a Keenan Allen makes a ton of sense, or somebody in that type of mold, a veteran receiver who can come in, help Tyler Shuck not just succeed, but also learn the ropes a little bit. But there might be more than one way to do this too. I don't think it's the end all be all. I think it's a major need. It's something they have to do, but I think if they don't address it, there is a way to win, and it just really comes down to how you design your offense. And if you want to play with speed demons all over the field and have separation monsters, you can create those big wide windows by having Brandon Cooks just run his way open, having Shaheed run his way open, have Chris Olave be a tactician and run his way open. Still one of the best pure route runners in the whole entire NFL. Olave is, but and then you just fill in those gaps with maybe your tight ends like Jawan Johnson and Tyler Shuck. They come in with some chemistry. Like I think he said they were roommates at one point, which is absolutely insane to
Wow.
think
Yeah.
about. Yeah, this is somebody that that's been in college for a really long time. Like it is wild to think about that they were at college together, let alone, roommates or whatever. But I still think it's a major need. I still think when you get down to the 7-yard line in the red zone and you got to make a play on third down and everybody's covered and there's no room to run your way open and the traffic's tight, you need that guy that can make a play. And boy, if Keenan Allen was on this team, I would feel a lot different about the offense.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the moves that were made, and then you look at the draft, it kind of solidified in my mind that the Titans were going to be looked at as, like you said, that big pass catcher, that big body receiver that makes those type of catches because you have such speed on the outside. But just looking at the list of available wide receivers, there's Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Nelson Aguilar, DJ Chark, Tyler Boyd, Elijah Moore, and Brandon Powell, just to name a few. But you look at Keenan Allen, that is a guy who's like 33 years old, so veteran presence, been in the league for a while, has some familiarity with this coaching staff. So I think adding someone like him, if in Olave, because these are guys who are great on the team, but they haven't completed full seasons in Olave and Shaheed. So if something were to happen to them, it gets kind of dark pretty fast in the receiver core, and you don't want to be left with finding someone like MVS at the latter half of the season to kind of fill in that role, because who says you hit on it again?
What was the second name you said?
Amari Cooper.
So I think Amari might look. I think Amari's no longer who he was. If
Yeah.
they signed him, I'm not saying it'd be like a bad signing or he couldn't contribute or couldn't kind of do some of the stuff they need him to do, but I would just caution people to know they aren't getting that player. I looked at him a little bit earlier this offseason. Um, he was a name that I was looking at that I got some pushback from people's talent evaluation skills I trust, just kind of about where he's at in his career right now. I think he could still do something, but I think if you were bringing him in, you'd have to bring him in at a very cost effective rate and be open eyed about it and not expect like Amari Cooper. Like you
That Amari
might,
Cooper, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I think you could still get something out of him, but if you're looking at him for a lot, which look, if you're signing a guy on April 30th, May 1st, May 15th, June 1st, like you aren't expecting a franchise changing talent at that point. But I think it would probably be like getting Jarvis at that point in his career, where granted injuries kind of cut that down. Like you might get some good games, but I think most weeks it's probably kind of quiet, maybe a play here or there. If that's all you're looking for, I think there's still some value there. Yeah, Kellen Moore would know better than us if he's good off the field, if he's
Yeah.
a good culture builder, if he's someone that can kind of help, a young quarterback figure out how to navigate the NFL. Maybe there's some great value there. But yeah, I think on the field you aren't counting on him to be just like the defining player of your team. And I think at one point in his career he was that.
Yeah, and then even relating those same sentiments to Keenan Allen, that's someone who was with Caleb Williams during his rookie season and got to see kind of the struggles and the highs of that whole experience. Who says he wants to go through that again at this point of his career, or if he's just waiting for like a window to open up with the Eagles or with Kansas City, Baltimore, or Buffalo as one of those premier teams that can make a Super Bowl push at this point in his career? Because even just relating it back to the veterans on the Saints right now who have restructured their contracts before they realized that, the whole Derek Carr thing was going to happen. I think it's just, kind of important to keep that in mind too. But just adding along with that, you don't want to be totally dismissive kind of the UDFAs that were signed. I know we haven't had a chance to see them yet. We'll have a chance to see them during rookie minicamp, and if they survive past that in OTAs. But is there any name that stood out in that pool of players?
Not as far as like a difference, like no, not as a difference maker. Definitely not. I mean, like you're a guy that doesn't get drafted. I'm not counting on you before
Yeah,
I ever see you play to make a difference on the team, to contribute to a win or anything like that. You know, it's funny because like people get more hyped up about a UDFA than like a fifth round pick, and it's like the fifth round pick. Like nobody counts on a fifth round pick. It's just like, oh well, they just like got a guy there, and then it's like, oh man, this like gem. And look, there are gems there, but like they have to show themselves down the line. This is something that I feel like if you're gonna do, you need to address and like really address it. Maybe they're counting on some,
yeah,
Kevin Austin growth. I would count on like Kevin Austin growth or like Bub Means or something like that more than I would, whoever they signed after the draft to a $30,000 guaranteed contract. I think you need to see that a little more. But yeah, look, if Keenan Allen's willing to come in though, like if he signs a contract, he signs a contract, and
yeah,
he'd know what he's getting into. So that would be a good situation. He just did it last year, like you said. Again, Kellen Moore, someone that has familiarity with him. Maybe he knows what he's like behind the scenes and all that stuff. I think the willingness to do the Caleb Williams thing, that kind of shows that he's willing to do it. And he might be at a point in his career where he is chasing a ring, like you said, or he might be at a point in his career where he's still willing to take a little bit more money to come, play and do what he's got to do. It just really depends on what his priorities are. I think he'd have better opportunity here to make plays than he would in like Philly probably, or
yeah.
even Kansas City. I think he's higher up in the pecking order right away. But it does say something that they went and got Brandon Cooks before him, but maybe Keenan Allen was just holding out to see what his options were too, post draft, wanted to make sure he was going somewhere where he's going to be a highly targeted individual or something like that.
No, yeah, that makes perfect sense. There's a lot of options to be weighed before, just signing with a team that's, you know, we'll talk about it later in the show, that's probably going to be bad this season.